Hello everyone, we're back from vacation, and this is volume 2 of the WireTap, and today we're going to be talking about the Associated Press, and there's been a couple of changes over there at the AP that I want to talk about, as well as I want to address the whole unmarked van controversy that's been going on in unmarked officers in Portland and New York City. That and more on this edition of The WireTap. Hello everyone, my name is JD.
And this is Logan.
And this is The WireTap. Thank you for joining us. This is year 2. We are now in our second year of The WireTap. Yeah, hooray! And thank you for being here for it. Thank you for joining us on this journey. And as I mentioned there in the intro, the AP, and this was from July 20th. So this is over a week ago. I think this was last Monday, to where they announced their decision. About a month ago, they made the decision to capitalize the word black. And they said that, at that time they had said, well, in about a month or so we'll come out and we'll say what we're going to do for white. Well, unsurprisingly, they said that they are not going to capitalize the word white. Unsurprisingly, I think that we all could have guessed that. And it says AP style is now to capitalize black in a racial, ethnic, or cultural sense, conveying an essential and shared sense of history, identity, and community among people who identify as black, including those in the African diaspora and within Africa. The lowercase black is a color, not a person. AP style will continue to lowercase the term white in racial, ethnic, and cultural senses, and they will also capitalize indigenous in reference to original inhabitants of a place. And they go on to say, after a review and a period of consultation, we found at this time less support for capitalizing white. White people generally do not share the same history and culture or the experience of being discriminated against because of skin color. In addition, AP is a global news organization, and there is considerable disagreement, ambiguity, and confusion about whom the term includes in much of the world as to who it is that white people are. And it seems like that a lot of people don't have the term, or don't have problems throwing around the term white to, describe anybody who they want anyway.
I mean,
it's anybody just, not black enough or not enough of a minority that's white. And that's honestly become a bit of a slur anyway, among the people of color, as the AP would say.
well, quite honestly, anymore. And especially after listening to that, I'm beginning to understand what it feels like to be discriminated against for my skin color.
And this is the thing with AP. AP is, for those of you who don't know, AP is kind of what in journalism is kind of like the gold standard in terms of how journalists format their stories, how they write them. And AP, I'm not gonna lie, has a bunch of stupid rules, a bunch of stupid things that you have to memorize, more so than just in your normal English class. You think, oh well, that's dumb. Why do we do that there? Why do we put commas before conjunctions? AP has a total set of absolutely stupid rules and guidelines to follow when referring to specific things, or people, or places, or events, or how to format things. Totally dumb, and it does take you a long time to memorize it and to get used to it. One of the things, and this shows you just how ignorant some of this stuff is that AP style does not allow for the use of brackets. All right, and that was something that was kind of news to me whenever I started doing journalistic stuff in AP style, is because I know for a fact I've seen in magazines and I've seen in newspapers like the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and New York Times and stuff like that. I believe the New York Times, but I know the Post-Dispatch, to where whenever they put SIC, the SIC in brackets after something that they know is misspelled or missaid in text, and they indicate this is how it was said or this is how it was tweeted or written or whatever. We know it's wrong, but for purposes of journalism, we're going to leave that in there. That SIC, that's sick, in there in the brackets, all right? Well, AP Style does not allow for brackets, and it in fact they come out with a handbook every year that's, about this thick or so, and it has all the rules in there, and it's a reference book. And whenever you go to brackets, it specifically mentions how brackets are not used in AP Style because they cannot be transmitted over wire. That just shows you like the thing about the AP, and it just shows you the state of journalism now. Not just because the AP is kind of an antiquated thing anyway, and it's just revered just because of what it was in the past and not what it is anymore. But this change, like I said before, is unsurprising. There's really nobody who thought that, they're going to capitalize white too. Everyone knew that was not going to happen. And the thing is this is obviously political. Let's just, even if you support a move like this, can we just be honest with ourselves and realize that this is 100% a political move? This is coming on the heels of all the stuff with George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all that kind of stuff. The whole Black Lives Matter movement in general. Can we just agree that this is totally political?
There's
because there have been
yeah.
so many years, there's been so many times to where they could do this anyway. They didn't do this last time that Black Lives Matter reared its ugly head in 2014, 2015. They're doing it now because this movement has been allowed to metastasize so much and been supported so heavily now by corporations and media and celebrities, whatever else. I mean, they supported it before, but it has now become much more popular. And indeed, there have been the stakes have been raised in such a way to where if you speak out against it, you are punished much more severely now than you were before if you did not support the Black Lives Matter movement. But this is the state of journalism in 2020 where listen, I really don't care. What annoys me the most is that this is obvious pandering. This is obvious just capitulation to the mob and to the movement. And that's the saddest thing, is because, as I said, the AP is supposed to be like the gold standard of journalism. And here we have this journalistic institution bowing to the mob in this way. And meanwhile, out of the other side of their mouth, they're going to say, we're going to bring you the hard-hitting news. We're going to tell you the stuff that nobody wants to tell you. We're going to hold the people accountable. No, you're not. You're a puppet to the mob, because that mob is on your political side of the aisle. Let's not pretend that the AP does not lean left. Let's not pretend that the AP is not leftist. Let's stop pretending that it is nonpartisan. Let's just stop it. Let's just admit that it is what it is. All right? And that's why I at least have respect. Well, that's actually a lie, because they don't. I was going to say CNN, but never mind. They try to actually uphold that they're still like unbiased and all that kind of stuff. Let's pivot the other direction. Let's go to Fox News. Okay, at least I can respect that, because even though that they discuss the viewpoint that I have, they're on my side of the aisle. At least they're honest about it. At least that they aren't trying to hide as though that they're some great bastion of, this unbiased all this kind,
and I feel
all the time.
Fox,
at least they're honest with their bias.
With Fox, they at least, in a way, label the shows and separate them between this is the news hour and this is the opinion. Yeah. This is an opinionated show. This is a show with a host that has a lean. Yeah. And I mean, you know what you're getting. And I mean, at least I can respect that. But the AP tries to brand itself as this unbiased, nonpartisan thing. It's the hardest hitting news that you'll get all week. It's the hardest hitting news source. It's going to hold everyone accountable. You can try, whenever the whole world is burning down, you can trust the AP. And that brings me to an article that the AP
sent out yesterday, or they published yesterday. I'm not even really going to go past the headline, quite honestly. As crime surges on his watch, Trump warns of Biden's America. In fact, I'll read you the lead graph here. President Donald Trump is painting a dystopian portrait of what Joe Biden's America might look like, asserting crime and chaos would ravage communities should the former vice president win the White House in November. Left unsaid, a recent surge in violent crime in several American cities has happened on his watch. This is the kind of crap that makes your head want to explode.
Haven't we just been told that there is no violent crime surging?
Yeah, haven't we been told that all of this is that this is all peaceful and non-violent protests? And yet now we're talking about crime waves, which the AP is not going to tell you, but they are a direct result of this movement. They're a direct result of Black Lives Matter. How are police supposed to do their job whenever, for one, in cities like New York and Minneapolis and wherever else, Seattle, Portland, wherever, they're being specifically muzzled and restrained from doing their job? Or in the case of Seattle, the police chief came out, and kudos to her. She's an African-American woman. She's the police chief there, and she came out and she said, we don't have the resources. We just flat don't. And unfortunately, we're not going to put our officers in danger whenever they do not have the resources to adequately protect themselves or the backing of Seattle's government if they have to use force and protect themselves.
In the case of New York.
So she basically said, unfortunately, you're going to have to protect yourself because we cannot put our officers in danger. I mean, she came out and flat said that.
I mean, in New York, they've had to disband the plainclothes crime unit.
Yeah.
They've been disbanding parts of their police department.
Yeah, they've been disbanding, like you said, the plainclothes. And we'll get to a moment here in a minute with the whole unmarked cars and the federal agents and unmarked police officers, all that kind of crap. We'll get to that in a minute. But this is a direct result of the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, whenever you had an article, was it the Times, or the New York Times, or the Washington Post, one of the two? I believe it was the New York Times, where it said, yes, we mean literally abolish the police. Something to that effect, but that was the headline. Yes, we mean abolish the police. Whenever you have rhetoric like that and you're talking about defunding the police and you're allowing these things to sweep across the culture, across NFL football, across MLB baseball, across commercials and television shows, your news hours, whenever it's inundated in your culture on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, wherever, okay, this is going to be the result. Because after 2014, after Ferguson, after that initial spark there, I didn't have a platform to say this on, but I was saying to myself, I said to you, I believe, that ultimately what this is going to cause is this is leading to an ultimate just usurpation of authority in people's minds. Not literally like a revolution, but in people's minds, in society. That's what this is doing. This is usurping authority. And this is going to lead to a very dangerous place, because once the respect of authority is gone, what is left? Because there hasn't been any equal and opposite response, like Newton's law. There has been no equal and opposite response to all the violence, all the vandalism, all the chaos, everything. There hasn't been. And you're getting a growing number of people getting frustrated all across the United States who are looking at this and saying, what the crap are you doing? What are you doing? This was, and we said this before, this was the one instance that you really could have gotten a lot of people to come together on this instance and on this issue with George Floyd. But that is so far in the rearview mirror, it's not even funny. Nothing is about George Floyd anymore. Nothing. This is cultural revolution. And I said a couple of episodes ago that, no joke, and I still believe this, that we are at the greatest juxtaposition of who America is since the Civil War. And this election could not come at a worse time for it, I guess you could say. Right smack in the middle of all this. But we have to decide where we're going to go. And American institutions, what this is the result of, is decades of people going to school, of consuming media that tells them that America is fundamentally racist, it's fundamentally flawed, it's illegitimate because it was stolen. The land was stolen from Native Americans. After decades of all of this being inundated to young people in their colleges, universities, and media, this is the result of that. This is the result. Because what do police officers represent? They represent the upholding of American values and American laws and the whole system. This is about tearing down the system and burning it down to rebuild something else. Because they consider this illegitimate. That's what the larger picture is here, beyond just what happened to George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, or whatever else. That's what the bigger picture is here. And the AP has the gall to sit here and say that, well, there's been a recent surge in violent crime as Donald Trump is talking about Joe Biden's America. It makes your head want to explode, because it's like, well, why is there a violent surge in crime? Well, according to the AP, they're just peaceful protests, mostly peaceful. There are some times to where they might become a little bit violent, but that's only temporary. Here's the thing. Whenever your assembly then becomes violent, there's no way that you can say, well, we were violent for like 5 minutes, but we'll be peaceful now. No. Whenever violence and aggression like that comes into your gathering, at that point, it's really null and void, and it's all illegitimate. All right? And you can't say, well, it's outside actors trying to sabotage it. I'm sorry, but who burned down all the buildings in 2014 in Ferguson marching under the Black Lives Matter banners? Can you answer me that? Was that outside? Was that Antifa? Because they didn't exist then. That was you. That was Black Lives Matter. So don't feed me that line of bullcrap. That's stupid. All right, this surge of crime that comes on Donald Trump's watch. Meanwhile, you're criticizing him for sending federal officers into Portland. You're criticizing him for whenever he suggests using the military to put down these riots, which these crimes are resulting from, and you have the gall to sit here and report on recent crime increases in Donald Trump's America as he criticizes Joe Biden. Shut up. Shut up. We'll go to USA Today. New York police officers, this is from earlier today. New York police officers force protester into unmarked van, video shows. NYC is taking after Portland. Here we go, lead graph. New York police dressed in shorts and t-shirts grabbed a protester from a demonstration during an arrest Tuesday and put them in an unmarked minivan. Video of the incident shared on social media shows. The tactics were quickly compared to those of federal agents in Portland, where local officials have raised concerns over arrests they say were unlawful and without probable cause. Here's the thing. Unmarked vehicles, unmarked officers that aren't clearly marked and identified as police officers in the typical sense, still do have identifiers linked directly to their badge number. But, God, I can't remember where I read this. But one reason that they use officers who are not identified in the typical way, which they're saying are unmarked, which in the traditional sense that they are, but they still do have an identifier that goes back to a badge number that identifies that officer. The thing is that the way that they're doing this with these unmarked officers protects the officer's identity, because then people cannot go look up the officer connected to said badge number and release personal information, which is what was happening Police officers were being doxxed who were showing up in videos who were arresting protesters in New York and across the nation. People were looking at their badge number, looking up the officer, finding their addresses, finding their family, and harassing them. That's what was happening. The way that they're doing this now with these officers, it prevents that from happening. And as for the person who they're talking about who was shoved in an unmarked van, well, she had a warrant out for her arrest because she had vandalized and destroyed 5 police cameras over the course of these protests, to where she destroyed the police cameras. So they had a warrant out for her arrest. But
now, I don't understand this. So a peaceful protest doxes police officers, burns buildings, and destroys and defaces property?
You would not believe it, but that is a peaceful protest.
Webster dictionary definition?
It's our definition. Webster was a racist.
Oh.
Yes. But we've gotten to the point, like I was saying, with just the degradation of authority and the defenestration of said authority for law enforcement and police officers. What more can they do? I mean, what more do police officers have to do whenever they're making arrests? They can't even do their jobs properly, because the things that these people are complaining about, really all that they're complaining about is that they got caught. They're mad that they got caught, and they feel as though that the people should not be arrested, and they're going to do whatever, they're going to say whatever to justify their actions, because ultimately they don't like that they got arrested, because they support their cause. That's the bottom line. But if you follow their train of thought logically, police officers' hands are so tied in what they have to do and how they have to identify themselves in the exact means. Like, even whenever police officers are openly being assaulted, they still do not have the right to arrest protesters. That's the arguments that we're seeing. Mm-hmm. But whenever you're coming from the mindset of defund and abolish the police, that makes sense. Because the only logical conclusion of, okay, if a police officer can't use force to protect himself whenever he is being assaulted violently by a mob of people, then yeah, the only other logical conclusion is that they must not want police at all, which is exactly what they're saying. So take them at their word on that. They mean abolish the police. They represent the American system, and they want to burn it down. But we want to thank you for joining us on this edition of the WireTap. You can join us on Twitter and Parler, capital TCNW. We are at the CWire on both platforms, on both Twitter and Parler. Check us out there. Go over to SoundCloud or to our YouTube, depending on which medium you're listening to us. And for Logan, I am JD, saying goodbye, God bless, and we will see you in the next episode. Volume 2, Year 2 starts right now.